Senator Wu.
Minister, thank you for being here. One of the ways in which this bill supersedes and overrides legislation is in the way it deals with the Statutory Instruments Act. One specific override it has is over the ability of Parliament to review regulations through its Scrutiny of Regulations Committee, which I understand I'll be back on soon enough, and which I had the honour of chairing the last two parliaments. I understand that the need to perhaps override certain statutes in the interest of speeding up an approval process. But the scrutiny job happens well after a project has been undertaken, well after the bill has been put in place, and it's a way to make sure that regulations are consistent with the law in which we pass. Why was it necessary to take this quite extraordinary step to the Scrutiny Committee?
So, Mr. Chair, through you to Senator Wu, thank you for that question. And I have been hanging around Parliament long enough to know and have colleagues that have served a number of years on the Joint Committee on the Scrutiny of Regulations. And you're absolutely right. It is an example, I think, where where the Senate, this chamber, and the other place work on something that perhaps isn't, as you described, Senator, I think very well, and for Canadians that might be watching us, I think that is an important parliamentary responsibility that has been exercised over a long period of time by both chambers. So I absolutely subscribe to the work that is often done out of the glare of the public light, but contributes, I think, to governments being responsible and the executive branch enacting regulations that, as you described very well, respect the legislation that was adopted by Parliament. So again, I'm doing this the third time I've said what I wouldn't do is think of a hypothetical example. Quatrième fois, sénateur, oof.
For 4 times, Senator? Well, the hour is early. It's not enough questions for my colleague yet.
Sure. Our objective here is to say to proponents of projects, to provinces and territories, to Indigenous proponents, that we're prepared to act and act swiftly and responsibly in a balanced way. But I would be happy to work with that committee and others to ensure that to not use the hypothetical example of an extreme outcome, but to ensure that that is done, obviously, in a responsible way.
Can you think of any other statutory instrument that has been exempt from the review and the purview of the Regs Committee? And even if you don't have the answer, can you find a way to preserve Parliament's right to at least look at the regulations after the fact so that we're not totally in the dark?
So, Mr. Chair, Senator, I'm not aware of other examples, but it doesn't mean there aren't some. It's such a technical point of law, but I'd be happy to ask the Privy Council officials who are here with me to answer that precise question and get you that precise answer. I don't know it myself, but it's a very good question. I'll get you that answer in terms of are there other precedents, and would be happy to work with your committee to ensure, as you said, that the fundamental respect for Parliament is preserved. But, Senators, I want to be transparent. The government believes that to encourage investors to come forward, to encourage provinces and territories to put forward major projects because of the economic and geopolitical urgency of the moment, we want to tell those proponents and their partners, including Indigenous peoples, as my colleague said, that we're prepared to do this work in a responsible, expeditious way, but I wouldn't purport to take away that important role of Parliament, Senator. Thank you for raising that.